You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to yet again another episode of the Red Moon Podcast, live every single Tuesday night right here on all of your favorite social media networks. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian. And come on, you got to come up with a name.
That is the name.
That is not a name.
Ask me at the end of the show.
You got to repeat the exact. That changed already.
It didn't.
There was a different inflection the first time. We'll have to go.
Sean got it.
Ba weep grana.
Weep ninny bon.
bon.
Weep grana. Weep ninny bon.
Well, if y'all remember that, I mean, I guess
that's Transformers.
I can't.
It's the universal greeting.
Yeah.
Oh,
you should know it too.
I'm saying
it's universal.
We've told you this like 4 times on the show.
I'm from a different universe. Okay, I'm from the multiverse. I don't know that.
Multiverse.
We got a good show for everybody. A little bit
Robots in
of breaking
disguise.
news that just broke on Deadline. It
Uh-oh.
looks like the air cut of Suicide Squad is coming.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I know.
And I mean,
He
I
just
will watch
whined
it.
and
I'll probably
whined and
like it,
whined.
too.
Well, we
I
all
will-
liked Zack Snyder's cut.
that's-
I say I will eat my words
Yeah.
and say if it's better or not. I mean, actually, I've never, I don't think, commented on whether I thought it would be better. It probably would be. That still doesn't mean it's good.
Same. I know. I agree.
So-
I mean, I'm hoping it would be better than what we got because it was.
I do
abysmal.
know, like he said, DC tried to make him make the movie more comedic. So I'm like, okay.
Well, I don't know if that will help it in my mind.
Yeah.
I just
No,
thought
his
it was-
version's less comedic.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
His version, like, he said was more a serious character piece, and DC, after like all the misses, made him make edits to make it more humorous, like Marvel, which is basically
Gotcha.
what they did with the Justice League as well when they brought Joss Whedon in.
Okay, help me out real quick though. We're talking about Suicide Squad or the Suicide Squad?
The very first one.
The
was
first
The one with Will
Suicide
Smith.
The one
Squad.
with Will
yeah.
Smith.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
David
okay,
Ayer.
Okay.
Yeah. The other one was completely done by James Gunn. That one never
James
happened.
Gunn
Yeah,
did
yeah,
that
yeah.
one.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. The giant starfish thing, I wasn't into that movie.
By the end of that movie,
the
and-
shark was great.
Yeah.
By the way.
I mean, I
He's-
thought
yeah,
James
Stallone
Gunn's
was
version
great.
was better than David Ayer's, but but neither
Till we
one
get
of
the
them.
Ayer cut.
Yeah, true.
That's it.
But yeah, neither one I thought was great. Yeah, King Shark was great.
Yeah.
And I don't mind Starro as much if they had. I get it was supposed to be this comedic reveal because that is a giant monster from the comics. I just don't think they did it well.
Agreed.
Like it could have been funny and done well, but
But I mean, we're kind of on to James Gunn's antics at this point, and I just felt like it seemed almost too much like
it's
Gunn.
same thing that happened with like Taika Waititi and,
Yes.
and a lot of his recent stuff. Like it's like once they get full reign, they don't know when to like hone it back, and it's like maybe you need someone there saying, "No, we don't need quite as much of this."
Agreed. I want to give
some of this is maybe starting to backfire on James Gunn. Are you? I'm not going to get a laugh out of that.
I didn't. I get what you're going for with the gun. I just. This is a dad joke. You know?
I mean, here's the thing: isn't that how you would want a dad joke to perform?
It was funnier, that there was just
No,
crickets.
yeah.
If
I
there
was
was some
gonna say-
freaking crickets in the background, that would have been amazing.
I don't have
It
that
would
on
have
the
only
sound.
been
I have
better
that
if
on
you
there.
had like Statler and
Yeah.
Waldorf and like the
I was
freaking
trying to make it
theater
bad,
box.
but not that bad.
It was
supposed to be
bad.
so bad it was funny.
I
Not so
wanna
bad you want
give-
to throw up.
A very special shout out to Jacob Burris.
Do it.
His birthday is tomorrow.
It is.
What? Happy birthday, Jacob Burris.
Burr.
There's a lot of alliteration there. A lot of
Yeah.
alliteration. Well, he's turning.
He'll be,
he's turning 40.
Yeah.
So
It's getting on my level.
He'll be 1 year greater. So
no, he has always been a wise sage, no matter what age we are. So he's always older than us at heart and in brain. In brain, see, in wisdom.
He's got a better beard than all of us too.
Yeah, he does.
he has a mighty beard.
Yeah, he does.
His coffee is bussin'.
It's
Bussin'.
Yeah, it is bussin'. You're
Bussin'
right.
coffee. That is
Show
from
me the money.
Cedar Grove down in Shepherdsville.
Is it?
Cedar
It
Grove
is.
Coffee
It is
House.
good.
It is delicious. It is
Very good coffee.
It's
I
I'm
got
gonna get some. I'm gonna have to get some.
5 pounds of that sucker.
It's as manly as Jacob's.
5 pounds.
Yeah, I saw it. It's a big bag.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this coffee's as manly as Jacob's beard. So.
Yes. Indeed. So a very happy birthday to Jacob Burris. Thank you for tuning in whenever you do, or even being on the show when you appear.
Yeah.
It's great. But no, we do have a great show. We're back to our holiday reviews. That's right.
Holidays.
Does anybody want to care to mention what our Christmas theme is?
Well, last week we discussed relationships and Santa and Mrs. Claus. Klaus! So we thought, well, the love of Christmas, we should do rom-coms.
That's right.
Yes.
But before we get into our rom-com, our first rom-com celebrating its 20th anniversary this year.
Yeah.
That's right. Love Actually is our rom-com review.
Yeah.
We're going to be reviewing that. But before the big one, no, it wasn't the big one on the block. It didn't hit number 1, but it did.
It was about a big one.
It was about a big one.
It came in third. It tackled pretty much most new releases. The only thing that beat it, that besides was Beyonce, of course, came in number 1.
She's
and
bigger.
then was it
Queen Bey.
Hunger Games came in 2, right? Still staying in there.
I don't know. I thought it was some other movie that launched. Maybe it was. I can't
I'm going to
remember.
double check, but it beat out the only other new release I think was Silent Night, and that came in like 8th.
Yeah, no, that did. Yeah, that flopped.
That one did bad.
Marvel's was down at like 11th. It was
Yeah.
falling out of the top 10.
It's the lowest. Yeah, lowest.
It ended its
grossing
box office run as the lowest grossing Marvel flick
like ever.
So it is done. But no,
it went Renaissance, a film by Beyonce.
by Queen Bey.
The Hunger Games, and then Godzilla was third.
Okay.
Trolls came in at 4th, and Wish managed to hang in at 5. Good for it, I guess.
But here's the thing that you can say about Godzilla is that it was
it's a foreign film.
the highest grossing foreign film to debut in America. It
That's
did
interesting.
for it to land at number 3. It's the
That
best
makes
that a
sense
foreign
to
film has
me
done
with
at
the
box office.
popularity of Godzilla at the moment.
So
and
the
just I think
last-
Japanese media in general.
Yeah, the last Japanese Godzilla film that I remember being in theaters was Godzilla 2000. I do not remember any others being
Shin
in theaters.
Godzilla came out 2016. I think it may have had a small run, like just like independent, like if you had gone to Baxter. But yeah, I think this one's like the first like kind of has a worldwide release like that.
Because I saw Godzilla 2000 at Stony Brook.
I
like,
rented
a
it from
long time ago.
Hollywood Video.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one at all. This is really the
great.
first, other than bits and pieces of the Matthew Broderick Godzilla from 1998.
Oh gosh, that was
It's
awful.
not even really Godzilla.
Right.
Okay, you
It's
want to
a
know
T-Rex
the
in New
only
York
reason
City.
Godzilla
It's like iguana.
Godzilla 2000 got
Literally.
made was because that movie was so terrible.
Wow.
They when the Heisei era ended with Godzilla versus Destroyer in 90 somewhere in the 90s, because there's like 4 distinct eras I was telling you about in when we went out to eat. But that one started basically with Godzilla Returns, or the American version, which was Godzilla 85.
1985.
Yeah. So, and that started it, and then it ended with Godzilla versus Destroyer, and they were going to leave it like that for like at least 10 years. They said they didn't want to we're going to let the property settle. And they sold the rights to whoever made the Roland Emmerich movie, I forget, because they were going to do a trilogy. And they're like, we'll let the Americans make a trilogy, and that'll be during this gap. And when they're done, we'll make a new Godzilla. And then the 98 Godzilla was so terrible, they were like, well, let's go ahead and make a new Godzilla now.
We need to rectify this.
And that's where Godzilla 2000 came from, which is a better movie.
So that one is the one that we're reviewing this week. I think we've got some division at the table. So let's check out the review first, and then we'll dive into our discussion of. Here is our review of Godzilla Minus One.
In 1954, 9 years after the Nagasaki and Hiroshima bombings, Japan would be hit with another devastating force of nuclear power: Godzilla. The film that stood as a metaphor for nuclear attacks on Japan, directed by Ishiro Honda, would go on to span a massive multimedia franchise that has become popular worldwide. During this time, Godzilla has been villain, hero, metaphor, and a vehicle for mindless action. More recently, Legendary Pictures and Warner Brothers have crafted their own American Godzilla franchise. But the heart of what the character was and those deeper themes have often been an afterthought in recent films. While Warner Brothers continues developing American Godzilla films, Toho, the Japanese studio who created and still produces the Japanese films, has delivered their first live-action movie in 7 years. A film meant to truly bring Godzilla and much of the original themes connected to him back into the spotlight. Godzilla Minus One, written and directed by Takashi Yamazaki, is set in 1945 at the end of World War II. Starring Ryunosuke Kamiki as Koichi Shikishima, a kamikaze pilot who fakes engine trouble to avoid his fate as a suicide bomber. Landing on Odo Island for unneeded repairs, the island is attacked that night by Godzilla, killing all but 2 survivors, Koichi and lead mechanic Tachibana. Koichi returns to Tokyo, where 2 years pass and Koichi struggles living with survivor's guilt, taking in a woman, Noriko Oishi, played by Minami Hanbei, and child Akiko, whose families were lost in the Tokyo bombings. The 3 form an adopted family, but Koichi's guilt, however, hinders him from admitting his feelings for Noriko or asking her to marry him. When Godzilla returns, bigger than ever, the risk of losing everything he's gained forces Koichi to face his guilt and discover what he's willing to fight for. Godzilla Minus One is simply the best Godzilla film I've seen in years, from either Japan or America. While Gareth Edwards' Hollywood-produced Godzilla brought the monster back into the American zeitgeist and made him a serious threat again, all subsequent films from Legendary and Warner Brothers have devolved into mindlessness, with bad writing and terrible plots. With Minus One, Yamazaki returns Godzilla to the nuclear metaphor he originally stood for, setting the film at the end of the war not long after Japan already suffered the loss of thousands of lives. Focusing on Koichi's struggles as an ex-kamikaze who believes himself a coward who should have died, Minus One uses Godzilla to highlight not just the devastation he creates, but a people already suffering from fear, defeat, and leaders who held no regard for human life. With a focus on rich themes and solid character development, led by Ryunosuke Kamiki, this is the first Godzilla film in nearly a decade that I actually cared about the characters and could relate to them. Though some scenes feel a tad overacted, which could be more an issue of my American sensibilities versus Japanese ones, I found most of the cast captivating and the dialogue terrific, despite a few lines that come across campy and awkward, though some of this too is due to translation and cultural differences. As for the overall plot, the only negatives I found were some instances of unclear passages of time in the narrative, though a truly well-done montage counters the weaker moments. The climax also suffers from less than grounded ideas, not helped by less than realistic visuals. Though nothing felt beyond the realm of possibility, the climax could have used a bit more tweaking, as the film makes excellent use of foreshadowing and real-world physics in its ideas. The execution just doesn't land as well as it should have. Visually, the movie is at times stunning. Cinematography is gorgeous, and upward shots of Godzilla looming over the skyline really send home the sense of impending doom. No, the special effects aren't as photorealistic or as well crafted as Hollywood productions, but on a $15 million budget, Yamazaki delivers something impressive. Though there are still some rough special effects at times, even by Toho's usual standards. Ultimately, I felt Godzilla Minus One was the return to form I had hoped for, focusing on themes and character development and using Godzilla as a force of nature. Minus One feels like a deeply personal narrative about the way the nation who created Godzilla sees both him and what he represents, and themselves. I give Godzilla Minus One 3 out of 4 stars.
Wow.
Minus 1.
Well, for you, it'll be -3.
No, it's not that. It ain't that bad.
No, let's go ahead and get the let's get rid
Well,
of
I
the elephant
likes
in the
it.
room. All right, so we have some division amongst us here at the table when we walked out of the theater. Two
I
of
prefer
us
multiplication.
Well, I'm gonna say 2 of us liked it, 2 of us didn't. One of them is not here.
That's true.
Now do the math.
Yeah.
That's a whole
Did you get that?
Yeah.
I feel like we're in an episode of Bluey. I'm gonna teach you how to count tonight. No, let's discuss, do a little bit of a deeper dive. Obviously, your score, Keith, 3 out of 4 stars for us here.
The official score.
The official score of Red Moon. Sean, what did you land on?
I gave it 1.5.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
1.5. I gave it 3.5.
Oh, wow.
He went a half over.
I
me.
went a
Okay.
half over. I really enjoyed it.
For me, where the half kind of falls off are certain elements from past Godzilla films that I felt like were done better. So I wasn't like, I know you're not as familiar, and I'm not like knocking that as like a, well, your opinion's not valid. I'm just saying there's certain like some of the special effects scenes, like the way like Sean's talking about the movement, like I personally wasn't bothered by that, but there are moments, like especially with past Godzilla films, where like I do acknowledge that as kind of a problem in certain areas where I thought the CGI wasn't as good as even like Shin Godzilla, which came out in 2016. Now I think the design was much better in this movie.
Agreed.
And
That's
I really liked.
That's about the only other one I have seen.
Yeah,
was the 2016 version with Bryan Cranston.
No. I'm talking about.
Oh, wait.
Shin Godzilla is
Godzilla
a
is Japanese.
Oh, I have not seen
the
that one.
Bryan Cranston one came out in 2014.
Okay, yeah. That one is the one that I remember most.
Shin
besides
Godzilla
this
is
one.
weird. It has like this horror vibe, which is really cool, but it also has these really weird elements that I didn't think is as good as this. But yeah, I mean, I really liked the story that it had. I liked that it felt like kind of the classic 1954 original to me, because that one has like the scrap. The main actor in that one is like works on a boat as a scrap guy, and the scientist is one scientist's daughter who's engaged to another scientist, and like they have like a little bit of a love story in that. Not as much as this one's like the main focus was these two. But I just kind of like that Godzilla is this force of nature that comes in to destroy things, and the theme of like, what are you fighting to live for? And his whole like that whole arc of him having this survivor's guild over the fact that he didn't kill himself like he was supposed to as a kamikaze pilot, and then he doesn't, he fails to act at the beginning of the movie, which causes more death. And I just kind of liked the arc and like how that relationship builds. So for me, I that's just the fact that it had this solid story with themes and characters I really enjoyed is what made it better for me than some of the past like American Godzilla films recently.
And I would only tend to agree with all the points you made in the review and with what you just said. I mean, other than just liking it just 1/2 star better, but I think it's more important to let's hear the voice that disliked it. I mean, Sean, so what was it that you did not like about it? I mean,
I didn't feel like it was a Godzilla movie.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, he's in it, but he's in 3 scenes in the movie, and I thought the special effects were great for what it was, especially for what they made it with. But it was like, again, I agree 100% that the story of the failed cowardly kamikaze pilot was amazing, but it should have been its own movie, and this movie should have been about Godzilla. And that's just kind of where I was at. I went into it expecting it to be either a rehash of the 1954 or a continuation from that, and I felt like it was an origin, because he's in the beginning of the movie, he's obviously not Godzilla yet. He's still growing, so this is kind of an origin retelling of Godzilla, and the whole point of Godzilla is that he is a force of nature, and that because of the atomic program and unleashing that into the world, nature is responding. And that's the whole point of Godzilla. That's the reason for his existence. And that was not featured in a Godzilla movie for the first time ever. And so that's why I didn't really care for it. I did love the story. Again, if you took that story and made it its own film with another protagonist other than Godzilla, something else going on in the background, that would have been an amazing film, better than Pearl Harbor, better than any other World War II film except for Private Ryan. It was a great story, but I didn't feel like it fit in this film that's supposed to showcase Godzilla, and it doesn't. I just felt like, again, like I said, the reason for his existence is this one thing, and that's not in the film. Like, it's mentioned, but again, that's the overarching theme of almost every Godzilla film, is that it's nature responding to this disastrous thing that we've created and unleashed. So nature unleashes a disastrous thing.
But see, I felt like the themes were strongest in this movie than the other one, because I do agree, because he's a metaphor for the atomic bomb, And like part of the -1 name the director said was, they just got hit by like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and they're devastated by that. And the idea of -1 is that right after that, Godzilla hits them, which takes them into the negative as far as like, getting hit while you're down.
Yeah.
It was the purpose. And I really felt like I thought that came across in the movie fairly well, as far as I like this idea of like, because it went with the war themes, I guess, more so than the nuclear theme. So I do get your point in that it doesn't really focus on like him being this nuclear force and nature's response as much as it just focuses on like the nation of Japan devastated after World War II. So I guess there is a difference there.
And that is a good story element to have in there. I did appreciate that, and I'm not saying that I didn't like that.
Yeah, it just wasn't Godzilla to you.
It wasn't a Godzilla film for me compared to everything else I've seen, including some of the Americanized films. Like, again, my favorite Godzilla movie out of all of them is 1985. I love that movie, and that's another one where it's very clear. This is what happened in 1954. I think it's Perry Mason, is in the movie.
No, I know you're talking about. He's in the, because they made an American adaptation of 54 called Godzilla King of the Monsters.
No, but in 1985,
and he was in that. And 85's the version of Returns, but the same actors in both. They used, and I'm trying to remember.
I thought it was Perry Mason, but maybe I'm wrong. But again, like he says, I was there in 54. This is why Godzilla was created, and now he's back. And the whole movie is about what are we going to do about Godzilla? How are we going to fight him? How are we going to destroy him? Should we destroy him? There's these questions raised.
Raymond Burr.
Okay. Yeah. And I like that. That's what I would expect from a Godzilla movie. The whole movie is about, should we kill him? And also the human ingenuity of how are we going to kill him? In that movie, they come up with the Super X and all these different things to try to destroy him. And I liked that they tried to throw like the ingenuity thing in here with these boats and ropes and all this stupid crap. I guess it's like, it's for the time period that maybe it was the best they had. But
I think it could have been executed better.
That was the part of the film that there were certain pieces that I felt like they jumped the shark on. I mean, obviously, I still gave it 3.5 stars, so I didn't think it was so glaringly obvious.
Yeah.
But there were definitely things to be that they wanted you to kind of overlook. I mean, just the idea of what they were. I thought they went a little bit overboard on explaining the in-depth way of which they were going to try to destroy Godzilla, and even the plan of it being a ragtag group of people that just kind of come together. And they've got some naval experience.
They're ex-military.
But I thought it was a little bit like, okay, there's a lot of things that have to go exactly perfectly right for this scale of an attack and plan to happen.
The ex-military thing, like, I didn't mind that as much because in the other films, it's usually a scientist that nobody else agrees with. It's like the rogue scientists that have all these ideas and everybody else is like, oh, that would never work, or you're crazy, this thing doesn't really exist, till it shows up on the beach and starts destroying your city, and then they all get in line behind the scientists and let them lead. And I like that. I don't know, like I said, it's just there's kind of like a theme or a pattern that every Godzilla movie follows, and this one kind of like went off the rails a little bit. Not necessarily in a bad way, just in a way that for me, expecting to see this certain kind of Godzilla film, I didn't get what I wanted or what I was expecting. And so I just didn't enjoy it very much. I'm not saying it's a bad movie at all. Technically, I thought it was very, very, very well done. The CGI in the movie compared to what we've seen from Marvel in the last 3 years, it was fantastic CGI. But then again, it's like the regeneration, him healing himself. That's never existed in Godzilla.
Oh, he's always been able to regenerate. It just never does it that fast.
Well, nothing ever affects him. He just passes out and then wakes back up. You never see actual
because they talk about that in I think in King of the Monsters, the sequel to
the 2014.
Well, that's
one of the things
that's one of the that's one of the American movies. I'm saying in the other Japanese films, of course, a lot of them you have a guy in a suit with firecrackers bouncing off of him.
Yeah, they don't show him
so
regenerate,
I'm just saying,
but they mention
but
that
that's also some of the that's also some of the
I was saying, well, and even
thing
if it
that I like
wasn't
about 'em.
a trait of something we've seen before, I thought it was a well done addition in terms of
Yeah,
adding it
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
spectacle and just
Yeah.
giving you a different look or a different
him
take
healing
on-
that fast I've never seen before, but yeah, like so a lot of the original Japanese versions have had that in it.
I just felt that
there are some differences in some of them, because even like the 85 version, like all the versions with Raymond Burr, we inserted him in there. He's not in the original Japanese movies. We just took the movies, cut some scenes out, and then put him in there
Yeah.
to make him more relatable to American audiences.
And I bet it's interesting because I agree. I think part of, and it makes sense that there is a divide, because part of the reason I did love it was that it wasn't so focused on just Godzilla and destruction. I thought the amount that was there from the beginning to set the tone, especially with the main character that we end up following throughout, and the set pieces they do show, while I think they could have been choreographed a little bit better, or to be cohesively told from one scene to another, I still think there were a lot of parts that even some of the nice little additive instances where you're kind of like, oh, there's foreshadowing involved, are a little bit easy to figure out and understand. But I still think they're done well enough that they affect the plot in a positive way, and they showcase the main themes the story is trying to tell you in such a way.
Just having those pieces in there is better than what Hollywood does nowadays.
Yes.
'Cause Hollywood's predictable, and they don't even have well done foreshadowing. It's just,
it's just an
easy to
exposition
predict.
dump.
Yeah, no, I agree with
and
that.
that's just a problem. I mean, and that was also the other thing about it. It was just to me, it was a breath of fresh air from what we've got from Hollywood, and in terms of actually thinking of a story centric first, movie, because part of our main headline tonight, we're going to dive into it about just with people kind of not showing up to the theater, and everybody could say, oh well, it's been on the decline since COVID and whatnot. But look, no, what it really comes down to is the storytelling is not good. And when you actually have a movie that comes out that has good storytelling, and yeah, it is a foreign film, you do have to read subtitles. And there were a few times where I was like, okay, there's a lot more dialogue in this than I was expecting there to be. But hey, that's okay. That's part of it. But it really was, to me, a spectacle in which I went in not knowing exactly what this film was going to be, not really being a huge fan of Godzilla, just intrigued with Gareth Edwards' version, and then knowing, of course, what he stands for in terms of, for the Japanese people, and then the original and what he meant for, nuclear, the kind of the, what is it? The
Atomic bomb.
Well, the atomic bomb, but I mean, like, I guess the warning of nuclear bombs and just the atomic era, just being that hey, this is going to cause massive destruction. I loved, more so than what you see in the Gareth Edwards version of him, the spikes glowing up on his back to the point of, and there were multiple times in the movie he uses that, and it creates like a nuclear explosion, mushroom cloud.
I thought that looked amazing, but I didn't think it fit with what Godzilla has done in every other film. Like, it's in every other film, it's a radioactive like blast, like breathing fire, and like a beam, and this one was like, it sets off an explosion way off in the distance, and I thought it looked amazing, but again, that's just not the Godzilla I've ever seen before.
There was still
a
beam, but you're right. Like when the beam hit, it would end and then explode. Yeah.
Well, it's like in the other movies, he shoots a beam out of his mouth and moves, and it does damage as it's moving. It doesn't just set off an atomic bomb. But again, it's a great representation of what he was created from.
Well, I also think
he had weird lasers going off his spikes and tail in Shin Godzilla. Like, that was part of the part where it was getting weird.
Well,
and that's the thing. Seen that one.
I think that's the other interesting aspect of this is that I don't have an affinity for this character in the same way that other people might. And so for me, it's kind of like, okay, it's cool to see an evolution of something that we may be used to, or it's cool to see them use it in a different way, at least from creators who I think know the source material or know and understand.
Well, yeah, they definitely know it,
right? and that to me is, it's like, and it's like
it just works on two levels. And I love it.
That was perfect.
I mean,
well, and you at least leaned over once during the movie, Sean. And you said, "This is better than Oppenheimer," in the sense that
the explosion was amazing.
Man, that's one thing. Go ahead. I want to
No. I was just going to finish and just say, like, literally, on the budget that they had for this film, and I know we've seen a lot of other like low budget movies that get CGI correct, but most of it's small scale, like Upgrade, how it does the CGI of like the technical stuff. Like that's I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a lot easier to do like CGI of biomechanical stuff on a human than it is to do a 300-foot tall giant lizard and nuclear explosions and all that. For what they did on the budget, I thought it looked fantastic.
Yeah, so it's easy to make something like,
and I'll watch it again when it comes out in 4K. I want to see it like on my TV. That theater was
that was the point
anyway.
I was going to make, but I didn't want to interrupt you. That was the part that ticked me off the most. Was that this movie is in IMAX in some theaters. It wasn't at ours, unfortunately. And the tiny little theater they had it in had horrible sound. The projection was very dim. Yeah. And I was just like, every time like there was an explosion or Godzilla roared or just this moment that was really epic, every time I thought this would have been so much more amazing, like with that loud boom in IMAX. And I was just like, gosh,
the
presentation.
I was going to say the presentation at AMC once again has failed us.
Yes.
And they put it in a small theater.
That's why you go to the theater, is for that experience. It's like
that's why they drive you to the theater.
My home theater system at home sounds better than that.
Yes.
Like I would have had more bass at home.
And not to mention, what was surprising is when we went on a Sunday afternoon, that theater was almost filled.
There was a lot more people there than I thought.
There were more people in that theater than there were in the IMAX theater for the Marvels when we went and saw that.
I actually thought for a second while I was in there, I was like, I bet a bunch of these people had no idea that this was a Japanese Godzilla movie. And I was thinking, there's people probably that showed up in here, and as soon as they see subtitles, they're going to be like, "Are you serious?"
They're like, "Oh crap!"
Like they just didn't pay attention. People here, like there's a new Godzilla movie, they're going to go to the theater to see it. But I just didn't expect that many people. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe some of them didn't know. I know Brian wouldn't have known unless we told him that it was
I wanted to
subtitles.
Make sure Brian knew before we drug him along to
which you know me and subtitle movies.
Sean,
I didn't think the subtitles were that hard to follow.
Yeah.
It didn't take my attention off of the emotion and the kind of stuff they were trying to convey. I thought they delivered that well. It's just kind of like my own expectations, I guess, ruined the movie for me.
Yeah.
But
there you have it, our official review. 3 out of 4 stars for Godzilla Minus One.
So if you're a fan, I think you should at least check it out. You know.
Oh, absolutely.
So, like I said, I didn't even really care for it, but when it comes out, that I'm able to watch that in 4K on my TV.
Yes, way better
that's
sound.
Actually bright and with my surround sound, I will watch it again.
It's possible they might have a dub by then because they do dub something with that being popular.
Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah,
and honestly, I was going to say, and after already having
I don't care
seen
for
it,
live action dubs, but
I would still watch the subtitle. I just want to see it the way it was meant to be seen.
Yes,
like for Christ's sake, I couldn't even see it the way it was meant to be seen.
But anyways, we're going to move on to our holiday rom-com, the very first one of the season that we're reviewing. Yes, here it is, our review of Love Actually.
I feel it in my fingers, I feel it in my toes. Red Moon Christmas reviews astound me, holiday rom-com theme shows. That's right, 'tis the season of joy, faith, hope, and love. And what better way to get into the spirit than with this year's theme, holiday rom-coms. Since this year marks the 20th anniversary of a very popular Christmas rom-com, Love Actually, we thought what better way to start off our Christmas reviews than by reviewing Love Actually. Written and directed by Richard Curtis, Love Actually features an ensemble cast which includes the likes of Bill Nye, Hugh Grant, Colin Firth, Liam Neeson, Andrew Lincoln, Martin Freeman, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Keira Knightley, Emma Thompson, and Laura Linney, telling multiple interconnected stories revolving around varying characters and different aspects of relationships and love leading up to Christmas. Love Actually received a lukewarm reception from critics when it was released in 2003, though it went on to become a cult hit that has become a Christmas tradition amongst many fans of the rom-com genre. I'll admit for years I wrote the movie off as cliched rom-com drivel. The film just didn't look appealing to me, though I would have been 13 when it first released. Having seen Love Actually, I can now confidently state that it is cliched, campy rom-com drivel. But that's also a part of its charm.
With such a large ensemble cast, Love Actually makes good use of nearly every actor and character, with standouts for me being Bill Nye and Hugh Grant. I know the ladies also have a soft spot for the characters played by Colin Firth and Andrew Lincoln and their respective stories, and almost no one ever has critically complained about any performance given by Alan Rickman. The comedy in the story, while sometimes sappy or melodramatic, does have a lot of wit. And while I may not agree on all of the film's views on love, the social commentary is spot on. That said, as a Christmas movie, it doesn't tackle the theme of love in a way that I feel represents the holiday. It is more a study of humanity finding its way through varying aspects of relationships. And while most of the cast is well utilized, there are just a few too many plot lines than what are needed. And I felt had the movie dropped a few and fleshed out the more interesting characters, it could have gone a long way towards making Love Actually a bit more timeless. With plenty of feel-good moments and a few bittersweet ones too, on top of the smart comedy, it's easy to see why Love Actually has a devoted fan base. And I enjoyed the movie more than I didn't. That said, it's probably not one I will revisit on my own. I give Love Actually 2.5 out of 4 stars.
Oh my gosh! Wait a sec. Our first rom-com of the season, we didn't totally trash it, and 3 dudes
I liked
just
it,
barf all
actually.
over it
I
and
did
say,
too.
"Oh, this is garbage."
I mean, it's not... Like I said at the end of the review, it's probably not one I'm going to pick out and watch every year. But I mean, if I'm doing if I'm with people and they want to watch it, like I wouldn't object. Like it's not bad. It's just not. There's certain aspects that I would have liked better.
Well, no, I think
more fleshed out.
The one line you said in the review that I completely agree with. This came out when we were like teenagers.
I would have been 13. I would have been 13.
Yeah.
So at the time, I had no interest in it, and then all these years, I just thought it was just, oh, this is just some generic
sappy rom-com.
yeah, like. So I never really gave it a chance. But then watching it because it's the 20th anniversary, I was like, I understand why it's popular. I mean, it's not the best in my opinion, but I understand why it's popular.
Sean, what'd you end up giving it?
I agree with the 2.5.
Same.
And
we're all in
yeah.
agreement on this one. Yeah,
I thought it was good. I had not seen the entire film all the way through. I've seen bits and pieces of it. I would have been 23 when that came out, or 22, so a little older. But
maybe matching some of the characters in the film.
I definitely did not remember the film when I started watching it, but I know that I've seen bits and pieces of it. I was probably making out with somebody while we were watching it.
That is totally that kind of movie.
So
it's completely one of those movies. It's like, let's go to the theater and see this for a night out. Yeah.
But no, I enjoy it. There's like you said in the review, there's kind of a lot going on. Mm-hmm. But there was a couple of the relationships that I felt like, yeah, you could have taken those out and paid more attention to the others.
Yes.
But I thought they were all, for the most part, believable. And I was telling Keith earlier tonight that like my favorite thing about the movie is the end story for Bill Nye's character, and I just really thought for sure that he was going to end up being gay,
right,
for his manager,
but
and that
wasn't.
they were both, and the way they did that was fantastic.
Yeah,
like him, he's just a genuine friend. And not, I thought it was going to be.
You couldn't have that today.
Yeah.
No.
It would be forced on you.
And even I told Keith, I said, even if they would have went that direction, I probably would have been. I mean, I don't agree with it because I don't agree with the lifestyle. But if the way they handled it, if he would have said like this whole time, I've been putting on a show with the women and everything, I've been playing the rock star, but this is not who I am. Like I'm in love with you. Something like that, I would have been okay with it.
I would have barfed.
I mean, I would have. I'm just saying the way they handled it.
In my finger.
I feel it in my toes.
That's it.
But no, I was just like, if they end up doing that, it's like I'm gonna give it a pass just because I can believe that. I can believe someone hiding it and putting it off and disguising it, like putting this mask on. But they didn't go that route, and I was like I really appreciate that they didn't go that route because I thought for sure that it was going to.
Because
and like you said, today it would have to go that route.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and that's what I was saying. I actually liked it because whether they were hinting at that or not, that they didn't go that route.
Yeah.
And they very explicitly were like, let's get drunk and watch porn is what he's
I know,
joking
I know.
around.
Yeah.
But what I liked about that was I'm just like, you actually had some levity with the character in that at least knowing you can joke around about this with your friend, with your mate, as they would say.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you don't have to. I mean, it was like whenever Frodo and Sam are best friends, and you have freaking Ian McKellen coming out and saying, "Well, if it were up to me, I would have made them gay." I'm like, well, you don't understand friendship. I'm like, I'm sorry that you have to distort
Two
friendship.
guys can be friends and not be gay,
and it's like
unless it's Brokeback Mountain.
Bro, and that's the thing. You have to pervert it. That's what we're told in today's media. Everything gets perverted to go down the road of being this debaucherous state of again, emotion.
But
and
it's bad
like,
when you have to watch a movie and you just expect it to happen. We're at the point now where it's like somebody in this movie's got to be gay.
I told Keith, I said, that's what I actually thought. I was shocked when I found out Andrew Lincoln's character wasn't.
I
thought he was going to be
in love with the
black dude.
I actually really liked how they handled that story too. I was like, okay, like
I did and I didn't. I thought it was.
I don't like the kiss.
Yes, that I agree with.
She just cheated on her husband.
I didn't like that. I liked the unrequited love aspect. I do think it would have been better because even at the end he's like, okay, time to move on. I was like, I like that he's not going to pine after.
Yeah,
but I think he could have he was already at that point. I think so. I thought the kiss was unnecessary. Than now she has the secret that she has to keep because I mean
it was trying to show you a wrap up of like her being okay with like accepting his feelings, and I'm like, no, we already knew that.
If he was a real man, he would have kept that to himself and not put a potential ruin to his best friend's relationship.
Well, I don't know because I do agree with Keith's
I do
point
like that he was like I don't want to ruin. I don't expect nothing. Like this is just. Other than I didn't like Christmas means you tell the truth. I didn't like that either.
Was stupid.
That was dumb.
That was the only theme that Christmas fit into for this movie. We're gonna do it at Christmas time because it's romantic and everybody wants somebody for the holidays. Christmas means telling the truth.
I like that they included,
or it means not being alone. I'm like, some people are fine being alone.
Well, Bill Nye, kind of, but I liked that they included an unrequited love story in there, and I liked it mostly up until I guess the ending. Because I agree, the ending could have been handled better.
It was cheesy for the Andrew Lincoln and Keira Knightley and that whole throuple. It was cheesy in the way.
I like the scene if we're watching the video.
Yes. I can't get a sentence out.
Go for it.
But no, I like the fact that it was like he shows up. I thought it was cheesy how it was done. It fit the cheesiness of the movie. But ultimately, it was kind of one of those things where he's just like, pretend it's carolers, and like she yells back at her husband, and there was just a hint of like, okay, you're going along with this, but when it ends up being innocent enough that he's just wanting to admit, like, okay, yes, all those hard times I gave you, it was because I had feelings for you, but now I'm ready to move on. It would have been sweet enough for him to walk away with the smile and the smirk of, at least I got to tell you how I felt, knowing that, hey, you're okay, you're in a loving marriage, it's all right. And I would have liked it if she just, had been left at the door smiling and thinking, okay, that was sweet, but I've got a different life now. We're not going to do this. I thought the running out and the giving the kiss was a little bit too much.
Well, that solidifies that she feels the same way.
Right.
And
almost like she made the wrong choice of marrying too soon.
I took it as like a petty kiss. I didn't think it as she feels
lips.
the same way. But
it was on the cheek. I would have taken it that way.
Well, and you're right. And based on how the scene played up to that moment, I felt like if even it had been like her... It's weird. I almost wish if they were going to go that route, that would have happened back when she found the wedding video.
Yes. Yeah.
And she wouldn't have been or he was the one that was so distraught and she was kind of at a loss for words and he just runs out and was like, find your way out.
Yeah.
But it's like...
It would have made more sense there, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. But even still,
overall, it wasn't terrible. I just thought that was a little bit too much at the end. Same with Alan Rickman's character. I thought his whole storyline... It was a little forced. I mean, there was just no real conclusion there at the end. I thought it was a little bit muddied in him. Like, I don't know, are they together? Are they separated? Are they divorced? I mean, yes, he's flying back, but they kind of, he has a kid with them. And then, even the whole cheating aspect, he never formally cheats on her.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to say it, but it's like he does buy this woman, a necklace, and he does kind of, he, in a foolish way, he even admits he's a fool. He gives into the temptation of, her alluring, liaisons and like her coming on to him. But ultimately he never fully caves, or at least they never say he does.
Yeah, but I thought she put it to him like, in order to get what you want, you have to buy me pretty things. I thought she put it to him kind of that way, like, if you want this to be something more than just infatuation, like, I like stuff. I thought that's kind of what, and so seeing it around her neck means that he got what he wanted to.
See,
like,
I almost always took it as she was just kind of seeing it as she was the vixen, she was the homewrecker, she was just kind of like,
maybe,
this is something I can't have. I'm going to be the temptress and pull him away.
Yeah.
And I can see that he, you know, as long as I mean, even the scene where he walks up to the desk and she just opens her legs so slightly and is like, hey, get the hint.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he's, of course, having to be led to that.
Yeah.
But it never really fully said that, or it never really stated that he went that route. And I just would have liked a little bit more clarity there, because I would have liked it if he had never went there, was tempted by it, but then she confronts him and he's just like, what a fool I've been. And then she, of course, breaks down. But even that whole scene was just such a rush. I was like, it was the one relationship that I thought it lacked.
Yeah. No, I thought, her putting the necklace on was indication that, he definitely did something. But it was the build up to that point that, because he almost acts like he's not interested in her at all until the office party when she's whispering in his ear. And then he's kind of like, oh, you are pretty. And then you jump to him buying the necklace and this and that. And I felt like I wanted a little bit more to convince me that of why he's wanting to cheat on his wife. Because at the beginning of the film, it just seems like he was spurning her, like, no. Like, because even when she opens her legs, he gives this disgusted look on his face. And I'm just kind of like, but then the next time they meet up is like the party, and then he's buying her the necklace. And I'm like, it was kind of a quick turnaround.
It would be believable if there was more there. Because I can see a guy trying to be good at first and push the girl away and feel like, oh, I've done something really good. I could have had that, but I didn't. I didn't give in.
Right.
And then as she continues, it's more like, oh, well, if I can still get that, then why not go ahead and try?
Absolutely.
And like kind of a slow fade into that relationship.
Well, and like you said, Keith, I think also not having it really told that there was a problem between like him and Emma Thompson's character.
Right.
I was like, okay, it seemed like maybe they were in the doldrums. It was kind of life. It just goes on and gets along, and like they're kind of in their middle age, funk of just not being able to have any romance. And and she still is expecting there to be some kind of thrill, and she tries to spice it up a little bit, but she's also very busy in what she's doing. Mm-hmm. But overall, I didn't think that it showed enough of a tension there that it would make him want to cheat.
Yeah.
And that's why I said it was like maybe there was this allure of it of, oh, someone young and pretty and hot is interested in me, but really him coming to the conclusion of like, oh, but she's only interested because it's what she can't have. And, that recollection. But there wasn't that kind of conclusion. It was, oh, Emma Thompson does confront him, and he's like, I'm a fool. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But then also I don't know how it ended.
Yeah.
And and again, that kind of was just one of those storylines where it was just like, that one could have been tossed aside. I know, Keith, you didn't really particularly like the Liam Neeson storyline.
No, I mean, if it had been more of a focus on like him losing his wife, which I told you was weird watching after the fact, knowing how Liam Neeson has lost his wife in real life.
Yeah.
So kind of hit home double, like seeing it now. But then they kind of dropped that story beat right away. Like he's concerned about his son because, his son's mom had just passed. But then like you get into the whole like, oh no, the kid's in love. And it's almost like, I understand he kind of uses like his son's like first crush as a way to get over like
a coping mechanism.
Yeah. But at the same time, I didn't think it was done well. Like I wanted to see more of his like learning to get to like move on from the loss of that life. And the idea of like, first of all, him watching Titanic with his son, I thought was bizarre.
That was dumb.
I was
we gotta
like,
do, don't
I
you?
was like,
terrible.
he just watched a
Look at
rated
Kate
R
and
movie
Leo.
with like nudity and
Yeah.
Well, and the scene that they
he
end
talks
on
to
where
his
he
son about
pauses
sex.
it.
Yeah.
He talks to his
he
kid
does.
about sex several times.
Yeah, well, he specifically is like, if I meet somebody else, we're gonna have sex all over this apartment or whatever. I'm like, what the hell?
I know in Europe,
Like,
they don't
that's
view
gross.
like violence is more important to them than sexual content, so that fits, I guess, a little bit there. But it was still just one of the things where I thought it was just weird. And then him like rushing him through the airport and stuff. I was just like, I don't know if I buy all this for a kid that's in elementary school.
No, I agree. While it was sweet when he ends up meeting the girl, and I felt like all you had to do was get to the point where she was at like the baggage exchange.
Yeah.
It was like, they're rushing through and the security running. And I was like, no dad would do that.
I mean, just taking her to the airport, period. I'm just like, I feel like
A little much.
I feel like my dad would be like, I'm sorry, kid. Like, I know
Here's
that
the thing.
stinks.
My dad would have been like, you're 8 years old. You don't know what love is.
It's like it's a life. Like they would turn it into a life
Like,
lesson about like your first crush is never like it was never going anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
But he did lose his mom.
Yeah.
Liam
Yes,
Neeson
yeah.
has a heart of gold in the sense that he's trying to show him what
Yeah.
love can do and make you feel.
Well, yeah.
And look, it was touching in that way. I didn't think it was too bad. All the other relationships I thought were okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. I felt like the opening monologue of it, like they mentioned 9/11 and it's this weird juxtaposition
Yeah.
of like, oh yeah, we know that happened like 2 years ago
Yeah.
before this movie came out.
And then the whole movie takes place in Britain, which
yeah.
was
and
weird.
then and it's also during Christmas, and then like Christmas is just like kind of over. I'm like, you start and end with these two themes that are two like huge things that are not really even touched on. They're just a backdrop to this movie.
It was odd.
And it's really just about love in general. And I'm like, this could have been set any time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit. That was the only parts of the movie that I mean, again,
Yeah.
we gave it 2.5.
I liked it. Like I said, just like Sean had mentioned, like some of the plot lines that I didn't think were necessary, like the one guy who was trying to get to America to get laid.
Yeah,
that wasn't needed.
I honestly, I thought that was going to go a different way.
Yeah, I did too.
I thought the way they were stirring him up and they were just being very on the nose. I mean,
He got exactly what he wanted.
I thought they were going to screw him over and like
that's what
take all of his
like
stuff.
here's some
And he was
hostile situation. Not that extreme, but
No, I
like
thought we were going to rob him. That's what I thought.
And then like they just show him going back to the place and the silhouette in the window, and then you never hear from him until he's back in Britain. And I'm like,
he got what he wanted.
I guess everything worked out with him. Okay,
I told Keith, I said, I think every like super hot woman in Hollywood in 2003 was in that one scene.
Yeah.
Like
freaking
all of
January Jones,
all of them were like
Alicia Cooper,
the girl
Alicia-
from American Pie and Denise Richards.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
Yeah, like all of them. The girl next door, which is
Alyssa Cooper.
Yeah. I'm just like all of the ones that were like
popular back
then were in that one scene. It was
well, I mean,
funny.
it did have a big cast of like well-knowns. Even
Well, and
for
it was
that
funny
time.
because even that, like I think Denise Richards, it was like she just shows up in that one scene and that's it.
Well,
Literally,
she was
just for that, kind of like a name drop.
she was the hottest friend,
the hot one,
or
and
the
she's a
sexiest,
Christian too.
Oh, see, I thought
Remember that?
I thought the hot one was what's her name?
No, because when they're all three at the
Oh, yeah,
table,
no. The hot one was the one from American
Pie.
She wasn't
Nadia.
there at the time. Yeah.
Oh,
She's
you're
the one who
right,
shows
you're
up
right.
She's the one that comes
Yeah.
back with them in the
Yes,
airport. Yeah, and the Denise Richards just shows up as her friend and is
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
"How y'all doing?"
You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
and just
real
kisses
friendly
the
and kisses
black
him.
guy on
Yeah.
right on the lips. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, that's us Americans.
Yep.
Real friendly."
Yeah.
Yeah, not
I'm
friendly to
excited
me.
about the rom-com thing though, because there's some good ones out there.
Yeah, I think
I'm
our
excited
next
to
one
do
up on the
this.
block is Sleepless in Seattle.
That's one of my
yeah. I
favorites.
I think we're doing that one
Sleepless
next.
in Seattle. Yeah.
So we're gonna keep it going for that theme this year. So enjoy our Christmas rom-coms. But
I was actually pleasantly surprised by this movie. I went in thinking this is going to be like some cheesy,
Same.
terrible rom-com, and it's like, no, this is actually funny.
we're ready to move on to our headlines. So let's get into it. All right, some of our top stories.
Yeah.
Wanted to bring to the forefront a opinion article
Oh, yeah?
from Bounding Into Comics?
I'm pretty sure.
I think that's the name.
There's a couple different ones. Yeah, this one's Bounding Into Comics.
Great website that I follow. It's got a lot of news, breaking news stuff from the industry, but also he wrote an opinion piece, and this kind of piggybacked off of what we were talking about either last week or a couple weeks ago. Keith had made some comments on the show about you were
just in general talking about theme, because I feel like that's a thing Hollywood has lost now, is that these movies have, like, that's why I feel these movies have no depth and why they don't have anything edifying, is because they no longer focused on theme or character development. They give you a story, but and stories are a dime a dozen now. Like we said, there's nothing new under the sun. It's the uniqueness that you put into the story, but also I think the themes and the character development. If you give me characters that I can relate to, that I actually want to follow, and themes that I feel like that I can relate to and that make me think, then like no matter what the story is, it's something already that's enthralled me that I'm going to enjoy. And Marvel definitely doesn't have that anymore at all.
No.
At
No.
all. It's
Or
just
Disney.
blatant.
Period.
Yeah, Disney
Yeah.
doesn't at all. It's
Hollywood. which is why I
Yeah.
kind of wanted to raise the question. I mean, at this point, this article specifically brings up the fact that anime right now, which is something from the East, from Japan, that has been there. I mean, it's just cartoons in Japan called anime,
Yeah.
but now have come over here to the States and made a huge boon in the last several, I'd say the last decade and a
which
half.
is Japanese comics, now outsells American comics. Even in America, people buy manga more than they buy Superman, Batman.
So these other
wow.
form factors, these art forms that are coming over here from cultures that presumably have been influenced by even our Western culture,
Yeah,
especially in the form of movies. It really does beg the question, have they become passe? Are movies at a point 100 years
Hollywood
into
movies.
them?
Because I was thinking, I wouldn't say this is just unique to anime. I mean, just Japanese storytelling in general is very. We were talking about Godzilla, and the themes in Godzilla Minus One are what me and you kind of liked, and even Sean. Sean liked the themes, just not some of the other way the movie was made. And I think. And it's not just Japan. When you look at RRR,
yeah.
Yes,
right.
it's a bombastic, over-the-top movie, but the actual character development and themes that the movie explores are what make it good. And then the crazy, over-the-top action is just icing on the cake. That it's like, oh,
No, I would argue that the dance numbers are
icing on the cake. Yes, yes. But it's like those moments are fun and awesome,
Yeah.
but you also get like a good story and characters in there too. It's like the Marvels threw in the dumb dance scene, but it was like,
Oh,
okay,
God.
what was the point of this?
Yeah. That
was
It was
terrible.
stupid. Like,
Well, and okay, but actually that's a perfect example juxtaposed against what you get in Triple R, because in that movie it's like not only is it a whole a segment of the film, it's a set piece, it's a number. The set piece you get in the Marvels, it's bogus once the moment you drop into it, and it's over in like 5-10 minutes. It's nothing like you get in Triple R where it's like a full 15-20 minute extravaganza.
but it's
they
still
really
also-
went
they
over the
went
top.
out, yeah.
All out on
But
it.
not only did they, it still carries the story forward. There's
True.
actually, even though like
You're right.
it's random, but it's not.
In the
It's like-
Marvels, they
it's-
would say the same, but
yes.
it's shoehorned in.
It's like Peter Jackson,
for the sake of
organized
doing something
chaos.
weird.
It's like the stuff in RRR seems random, but it still serves the overall story. Whereas the Marvels just is chaos for chaos' sake. They're like, well, people like this South Korean singer. We got to put him in there. And then we're going to do this dance number. And then we're going to have this, like from the Pakistani family. And we're going to do this. But none of it's going to mean anything. It's just, again, it's just pandering. It's just, we have this in there because now fans of K-pop will watch it. Now we can get the Pakistani demographic, this demographic. We're just putting things in to appeal to demographics without understanding why,
Sad but
or
true.
without making it worth it.
Well, it's like you and Kristen were talking about earlier about Doctor Who. It's like they're pandering to, they're trying to make it more diverse so that it will, I think it was even her words, she said, so that it is more audiences will want to see it. And it's like, I mean, it's like, I don't know anything about Doctor Who. I don't think I would like it based on what I've seen so far, which the older stuff may be way better, but it's just never been my cup of tea, so to speak. I've never gotten into it.
No,
it's an acquired taste.
It is.
But it's like if they put something in there that I was extremely interested in, then maybe I would watch it. I get that, but that's like, you don't change the overarching theme of your entire franchise just to try to gain a little bit of these.
You
and I'm
alienate
sorry,
the
but
core audience.
You're sacrificing the majority audience for the minority audience, and
Yes.
I don't like that.
You're right. That's what you end up with is you drive away the people that have been fans for years.
The people who are going to pay to see your
the largest
content.
part
That's
of
right,
it,
yes.
the largest part of your audience you're driving away because you're trying to reach out and grab a small percentage that may or may not have ever come in. It's like, maybe they came to see the Marvels because of the K-pop singer. They watched it once and they're never going to come back to another Marvel movie because the only thing they were interested in to begin with was that one person. And maybe when they went and watched it, they were like, well, this is garbage. The only thing I was interested in was him, and he's not even has nothing to do with anything.
Right.
He's a useless character.
Well, and I think this speaks to the greater problem at large in Hollywood. And I'm glad you differentiated there. You said, well, Hollywood movies. And I think what it's showcasing, what it is we've seen over the last decade, 2 decades, is that not only has Hollywood become, its own bubble, and it has it's started to institute behaviors that, they're in an echo chamber, no doubt. And they believe that sacrificing a lot of what has been the standard bearer in terms of storytelling and in terms of inclusivity and diversity and equity, all of those, buzzwords, what they've done is they've on this altar sacrificed actual universal themes and morals that carried through regardless of what your background was, for the sake of saying, no, we uphold these issues as paramount and they have to transcend everything. And that ultimately, as long as we are putting this criteria within our films and basing the whole story around it, well, then it doesn't matter if it's subpar based on what you like, because that is the new norm and that is the culture we're creating. I mean, it's kind of a weird amalgamation of this like problem of like a drunkard who's drunk on alcohol, and they're like, but I just need one sip so I can wean myself off. It's like, okay, well, but you realize this is the very essence of the problem to begin with. And to me, excuse me, it's one of those instances where I feel like in Hollywood, they don't have any other outside voices other than independent artistry. And that other independent artistry is not coming from it's just such a tour de force in America that it has to come from outside of America. And it takes other instances of, we were talking about even outside of the theater, seeing Godzilla Minus One. The themes that were portrayed in that film you would not find those in any Hollywood movie today. Just the essence of the woman who is wanting the man to commit and say, why don't you actually come and be part of my family? The fact that he looks at this child who he's just trying to help after a war-torn Tokyo has been through hell and is like, well, that's not my daughter. And this girl's looking for a father. And the whole movie of this man, succumbing to a higher purpose, to overcome his selfish desires or his cowardness. It's like there were just moments in that film that as the story was unfolding, I'm like, you can't find any of this in Hollywood anymore. It's now the stoic female who is going to bring us this, she's our savior, and it doesn't matter, diversity and inclusion doesn't matter at that point as long as there's a strong female lead. As the South Park episode just joked recently, it's like, put a chicken in her, make her gay. It's like, that's what we've gotten. We've gotten it shoved down our throats, shoehorned into every major property that comes out, that there is nothing that is unique anymore because you already know what you're getting up to. We just watched, and I was shocked by it. We were just watching right before the show, No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence. And I wrote it off just because Jennifer Lawrence is a spaz.
Well, a lot of conservative outlets wrote it off and kind of chastised it.
Well, of course, because as rightfully so, the trailers led you to believe, and as unfortunately a lot of people probably based on much of what Hollywood is putting out, it's definitely the majority now, a lot of what they're putting out there and what the trailer sold you on, it was like, okay, this is just going to be a bill of what goods. I don't want to pay attention to it anymore. I don't even care to give it my time or my money. It's not worth it. And yet when I watch the film, I'm like, yeah, there's still some things I disagree with it. It is a raunchy comedy. I can forego some of that for the sake of just
be
laughter.
Like American Pie. It's like, obviously I don't agree with their morals, but that's the point of the movie.
But there's also times in it where you're just like, okay, there is a message here that transcends, and it actually got to a greater message of, again, Jennifer Lawrence being the hoe character versus this young kid who needs to bust out of his shell and actually take a risk, and them rubbing off on one another, of him kind of showcasing to her, you're worth more than what you give yourself credit for, and her saying, hey, you actually have a little bit more audacity and to take a chance, and you should bite off a little bit more than you can chew sometimes to see what you're made of. And it's a healthy, I think, balance of showing how men and women can complement each other. But you would have never gotten that from the trailer. They had to sell it on this sexy, raunchy comedy with Jennifer Lawrence being the A-lister of her taking advantage of a young kid. I definitely disagree with the age gap in the movie. But no, I think it does showcase the failure at which Hollywood has been able to overcome this hurdle. And the real question is, will they? Will they be able to? Or are they so self-absorbed and so committed to their religious pursuit of these values that they have, branded themselves with. Are they willing to meet their own demise and have the independent artistry that surrounds it, whether it's anime, whether it's mangas, whether it's other independent movie houses, whether it's foreign films, all these different aspects that come in to fill the gap, to fill the void that people are, really wanting out there. They're craving it, and they don't have an outlet for it, at least consistent. I mean, is this really the end of Hollywood as we know it?
Not yet. But
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's an end. No, I think it's the end of the good storytelling that we know of.
yes,
I
don't think that's returning anytime soon.
No, but I think it's possible for it to return. I don't know, man. It's kind of like you think about history repeating itself and things getting kind of recycled, and I feel like I don't. In my lifetime, I can't think of a time where Hollywood in general went through anything like it's going through right now, where it came back around. But I feel like where we are right now is kind of like going through that first part of the curve. Like, I really feel like at some point,
its fulcrum, and you're waiting for it
I
to-
feel like at some point, people, and I think you're starting to see it politically. I just don't think you're seeing it creatively yet, the waking up.
Yeah.
I think people are starting to realize that the woke nonsense and kind of the pandering and the shoving these ideals down people's throats through the media, they're starting to see that it's bull crap, and they're starting to, but I think it's, like I said, politically people are starting to wake up, and you're hearing left-leaning people say, I'm not voting for this again. Like, it's getting to the point where even the woke don't want to be. And I feel like it's eventually I think creativity will return, and I feel like some of these themes will kind of disappear.
But do you think that creativity is returning in these other outlets, and that
it
these
may-
are where the people have flooded
It
to?
may be, but I think at some point people will see, why is this so popular all of a sudden? What is it about Hollywood and their way of making films and telling stories? Why has that gone away and people are flocking this way? And then when they see it, they're going to be like, oh, well, it's because they're doing what we did 20 years ago and 50 years ago, and then it's going to return. Yes. I think they're going to copy. I mean, if you look at Hollywood, I would even argue that, I know anime's been around for a long time, and I'm not a fan of anime at all, but I would say I think Japanese cinema has definitely copied off American cinema, and they liked what they saw, so they started doing it, but they're still doing it like we used to do it, and people are flocking to it, and even Americans, like Keith said, with comics and anime, people are starting to flock to the story and away from the allegory. And not to make a rhyme there, but I think people are gonna. Again, they're going to look that direction. They're going to look to the east and see, oh wow, people are going that way because they've got what they've got it. They still got the magic, and the House of Mouse don't have that magic no more. Eventually, I think it will come around, but I'm hoping it will.
They've made other things their priority.
Well, yeah, and I'm hoping that it'll come around to the point where some of the independent filmmakers and production houses get to be the ones to bring that magic back, and not these huge.
I think you saw that a little bit in the early 2000s. I think that was kind of a growth and a renaissance of independent filmmaking that brought to the forefront not every single major film that came out. Obviously,
Focus features. And,
Magnolia,
Miramax,
and I mean, like a lot of indie art house. I think production houses. I mean, Weinstein, for lack of a better name.
Yeah.
But I mean, you had these art house studios that rose to such acclaim and even household names to some degree with certain films because they were experimental, but they still had heart and soul to them that I think people were willing to give a chance for creativity and originality. Now, obviously, you see how that pendulum can get so far out there and get experimental. And then you also, I think, see, and then you have the backlash of, I wouldn't say backlash, but the natural inclination of let's get to something stable. And then you see the success of like something like the MCU where now everything has to be a franchise because it's like, oh, we're gonna hook ourselves with something that we know is gonna make us tons of money, year over year with tons of iterations about the same subject matter, and all of a sudden now people are going to be invested. They have to show up. I mean, again, since it's been done, we're kind of like, okay, well, give me, what else have you got for me? What else is the next big thing? But I think in terms of, I've never seen the gravitational switch from things in our country towards other cultures that, kind of like you said, Sean, not necessarily are mimicking what we do in terms of style, but are adding, I think about this in terms of Metal Gear, because I'm a huge Metal Gear franchise fan. And Kojima talked about how when he was growing up, I mean, he not only wanted to be a filmmaker, but his dad set him down and they watched movies every night. And he would watch old Westerns. He grew up on American culture movies. And it influenced, obviously, the way he not only directs his own stuff, but obviously his own games. And then the biggest franchise is based on American culture and American politics. And it's like, he's learned and knows our system and knows our culture in and out.
I like that. I didn't know that about the Westerns, but it makes sense. I mean, to me, I'm just thinking of the Metal Gear games. You always go up against a boss. It's always a standoff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you always go up one-on-one against a boss.
Yeah.
And that's every Western film. There's a standoff. Like, it makes sense.
But it's just interesting how someone like that could be as influenced by what we used to. It was our bread and butter. It was our our major export.
Something to be proud of.
It still is to a degree, but more so now the export is, look at how terrible and pitiful we are. It's us pissing on ourselves than just being kind of brash about, no, this is the American experience and we're proud of it and we're happy about it. And yeah, of course, you always have critical, think pieces or critical, movies that kind of give you a different take on the American lifestyle. But I mean, we were just talking about it a little bit before the show with the GTA 6 trailer coming out, and I'm like, it just looked like a fancier GTA 5. And I'm like, how many times can I play through an experience of them overexerting the Americana of what we are in terms of, it's there are people that are like that, but in a way, it's also kind of it's a slap in the face to Americans and our culture. It's not to embrace it. It's to say, look at you bunch of rubes. This is what you all
depravity.
Are. Right.
Well, I think it's funny.
What you've sunken into.
And quite a few
and then
people
Americans
online
buy it up and love it.
And we're going to.
Yeah, but I think it's funny because some of the comments on the trailer I was reading was like, in the past, GTA was an over-exaggeration of how bad, those American ideals are. And it's like, now this is actually just what we see every day on TV. And I'm like,
the side-by-side video that you brought up is showing real life versus the game.
That's what's sad. It's like GTA's not a parody anymore. It's like you see it, but it's like you don't care anymore because it's not an over-exaggeration.
Babylon Bee brings this up all the time. They say we'll sit in a boardroom and we'll come up with all of these ridiculous headlines, and we'll usually go with the one that we think is the most ridiculous, only to turn out that either it's real or in 24 hours it becomes true. And it's like, it's crazy.
Trey Parker and Matt Stone have said the same thing about making South Park. They're like, it's harder and harder to do because they said reality has become crazier than anything we can think of.
And again, I think that's the weird vicious cycle that you could find our culture in right now, in the tailspin of what is really creating the downfall. And I mean, obviously I would point to a loss in values and morals and virtues that we used to hold dear, and at least subject our culture to, saying this is the standard bearer that we all want to turn to, and ultimately this is what we aim to be. But no longer do we have that. Now we just live in moral depravity and say, well, I can't really say no because it's not my place. It's they get to make their own choice. Freedom. It's like, that's not freedom. That's not that. Again, freedom without any kind of chains is not real liberty. It's a slave to something else. It's a slave to sin. And I think it is interesting because we have that mindset now of, well, I'm an American, I can do whatever I want, and it's that only goes so far in the sense of if you take it to the nth degree, then you get exactly the moral decay and the cultural decline that we have.
There's repercussions for every action, whether those be good or bad. It's like, sure, you can have freedoms, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a freedom of consequence. I mean, there's going to be things that come of the lifestyle you live, whether that's good or bad, and that's why we have laws to prevent that decay. Because it's easy to say, it's just obviously, okay, murder's the obvious one because everybody knows murder is wrong. There's an actual consequence that you understand why that's wrong.
Unless it's a baby in the womb.
Yeah, exactly. But then when it comes to other things, people are like, well, why does it matter if we do this and this? It's not like it's hurting anyone, but it's like, but over time and the consequences of, like you said, the moral decay of society leads to things
use
greater.
the word sin, so it's, I mean, to me, it's like, we have the opportunity to have freedom from sin. It doesn't mean it's freedom to sin. Yeah, and I think that's exactly what people think of freedom. It's like, oh, I'm free to do whatever I want, however grotesque it is. And that's not what it is. It's freedom to not do the worst possible things. It's freedom to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And that's where we're like getting it wrong. And it bleeds through in all of our culture, including Hollywood.
It's a vicious cycle and a double-edged sword of what we have to face in terms of our own responsibility personally, how we can uphold those values that we hold dear and spread those to the next generation. But also, I mean, it does come through in our culture, because when you do see the movies and the games and everything that we do produce, you really do have to ask yourselves, okay, what are we at? Switchfoot's got a good song, even though they've gotten on the beaten path recently, but they have a good song that's called Adding to the Noise. And it's like, are you just here creating more chaos in what already exists? I mean, what are you really providing and adding in terms of value to the next generation?
It's sad, though. Even the people like Switchfoot, though, like you just brought them up, their lead singer is an ally, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's what I meant by the
it's like even the even our Christian, in quotation, people we look up to. I'm trying to think of the word is like not
role models.
Role models,
yeah.
Exactly. It's like even they are falling to the wayside. There's not many of them left. They're all going left, and it's like they're all going the wrong way, or they're leaning into what you started saying, where it's like, well, we can't touch on that subject. We have to tiptoe around that. We can't hurt anyone's feelings,
right?
And that mindset only leads to giving into all of that.
Heaven forbid we stand up for something that may make us unpopular,
right?
Because then how else? And it's the deterioration of your own values and morals for the sake of saying that you have somehow a higher standard of what you hope to ascertain or spread. It's like, well, I'm spreading the gospel by not telling it. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah,
that's a little what? That doesn't make any sense. So
it's like God will do all the work. I don't have to do it.
Right. So therefore, I don't have to live by the standards that He tells me to live by.
It's like, I don't need to spread the gospel because God helps those who help themselves. They'll learn it on their own.
Right.
It's Calvinism. There you go. If you're going to be, He's going to pick and choose.
But it is interesting because I think that I agree that in terms of movies, it has become cyclical, and you do have droughts and periods where movies have gone through periods and times where it's not been fantastic, or there were doldrums. I mean, obviously, with people with vast different arrays of taste, you may pick and choose what decades or what span of years that may be. But there's no doubt that in terms of even the box office numbers objectively, it's like we've dipped. And you could say, oh, well, it was COVID and the pandemic. And it's like, no, these are excuses now for the sake of laziness in Hollywood. And even if you go to the WGA strike and the SAG strike, which everybody's now wanting to harp on and say that that's going to cause a lull in releases, it's like, no, that doesn't bring forth the lull in creativity and the lull in ultimately where people don't have the fortitude to actually make things that people want to see, because they themselves are lost. They themselves don't really know what it takes to create something that really you want to sink your teeth into. I mean, you get stuff here and there. I mean, I think that's why if we ever are critical of some people that we fall in line with, or we tend to fall in line with on the show, such as a Christopher Nolan, or
Martin Scorsese.
The reason we actually are a little bit more critical is because we know what they're capable of, and we see it seems like us, not that they can't escape this inevitable direction they're headed down, but it seems like, at least until they turn course, that they're giving in to the demands of trying to stay relevant for relevance sake, other than actually creating things that really do make us think, and they have that tenacity of where they were at years ago when they still wanted to create pieces of art that spoke but also entertained. And it's just interesting because now you're seeing, like you said, that pendulum that swings back and forth. You're seeing the consumers go after other things that do speak to them, because after a while it does become mindless entertainment, and you can only consume so much junk food for so long.
Well, that's also the only thing that will make Hollywood change, is going elsewhere and spending your money elsewhere. Because I mean, look at Disney. I'm not saying that they're changing, but everything they're doing now to try, like even Iger's comments saying about like focusing less on preaching to people. It's like that's not something they would have ever learned if not for all these losses. And I don't think, and I'm not saying they've even learned the lesson fully yet, because I don't think they have. I think they're just going to go back to being more subtle, like that, like with the Marvels. But at least now they are realizing it's like people are getting tired of us shoving crap down their throat. We got to rethink what we're doing. It's a nice first step. I don't trust them still, but
I don't
think
either.
That's a lesson that Disney and Hollywood in general would never have learned if not for the fact that they are suffering so many misses at the box office.
And real quick, that's one thing I wanted to highlight, just briefly before we move on to our vices topic, which is that was the F-bomb heard around the world this past week. Was
a good one.
Go F yourself from Elon Musk.
Yep.
When Disney pulled its ads from the platform. And interestingly, it's funny that Iger does this in terms of some kind of moral standard. And it's like, dude, we already see you. Why aren't you pulling your ads from TikTok, even though they're not only grooming children, but you also have huge amounts of talk about freaking anti-Israel and anti-Semitism on the platform. It's like, yet you're focusing your attention on
Bin
X,
Laden on there,
and it goes to, again, not only to speak the echo chamber that these people live in, but again, they all get the same memos. It's like, okay, all of the mass media is going to go after this one platform because it offers free speech for oh, heaven forbid, the Joe Schmo out there that can get out there and voice his opinion. And who knows, something he may say may go viral and challenge the authority and the elites. And that's exactly the class that Disney and all these major corporations find themselves in. And they're constantly aligned with those who are the message bearers, and that is the mainstream media. And so when Elon Musk comes out and says, screw you, you're not going to do that. If you're going to blackmail me in that way, no, go F yourself. I don't want your money. We're not going to survive on that. And the day will come, and yeah, it's a risk. I'm taking the risk. The day will come that when either X fails or your company fails, it'll be up to the people to decide who was the culprit. And I think, and like he said, even the guy who was interviewing him, I can't remember his name.
Oh yeah, he kept saying, well, they'll blame you, and it's like, will
he said,
they?
No, well, he said, will they? And he said, but you're expecting people to boycott Disney, and Elon just simply said they already are.
Yeah,
and it's true. We see it day in and day out. I mean, we bash Disney a fair amount on this show simply because we grew up with what Disney used to be. And we grew up with a company that at least, and I liked, there was one other comment Musk made, and I'll end on this, that I liked, and he said, and this is exactly the kind of, the kind of harsh, not even harsh talk, the man talk we need in this world today. He said, I care about doing good than people talking about doing good and then still perpetrating evil. And that is exactly what you have behind all of these corporations. They care about the publicity. They care about the angle of appearing good in the sight of everyone who's out here not paying attention. They care about the good, healthy headline, and they don't actually care about really doing good. And that is ultimately what we have to rise above in this country and culturally in the West in general. We have to get above our own egos. We have to actually get down in the dirt and get dirty about actually pulling up our bootstraps and saying, okay, this is going to take some work, but we got to right the ship. And that doesn't mean talking ourselves into endless, fantasies about what it is what we would like reality to be. It's actually confronting reality and dealing with what we have to. And that ultimately is what I think, Elon's message was to all of the, the woke crap out there that we see day in and day out, and speaking and giving that big FU to, being a voice for the voiceless. But anyways, that was I just wanted to mention that as one of our headlines that kind of tied in with the Iger talk. And
Yeah, I wanted to show that. I was trying to dig through these tweets to find it because the Elon Musk parody account on X,
yeah,
like they actually dropped like a list of these major companies that have pulled ads.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Apple, Disney, Washington Post, Paramount, NBC, Marvel, IBM, Sony Pictures, CBS, The Colbert Show, Comcast, Lionsgate, and Warner Brothers Discovery.
yeah.
They all pulled.
And I'm not
ads
shocked by any of those.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
every single one you mentioned, I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
so far. And this
Yep.
just the other day, Walmart was added to that list too.
Yeah, I saw the one with Walmart, and it's
Yeah.
like, it's okay. I
I
mean,
shop at Walmart anyway.
right. I say, who does anymore?
Because they're
It's like,
garbage.
well, talk about those. True.
Yeah.
Talk about ratchet people.
Ratchet. You want to see GTA? Just go to Walmart.
I think some of those scenes were from Walmart.
No doubt they will be.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. I think we're ready to move on to our vices topic.
it.
Let's roll that open. There it is. Let's get into our vices topic.
Yay!
Let's talk about your favorite healthy food.
Vices?
Yeah.
Here's the reason.
All right.
We're in the midst of just comfort food eating season from Thanksgiving through Christmas. You're eating all this junk. Well, that's not junk. Some of it's really, really
I think
tasty.
you can have healthy foods that are a vice, like
Of
healthy foods that you
course.
would eat all the time. Like,
Yeah.
Just some,
I
and that's the
mean-
thing. We never focus on, and look, you need more than just the healthy food. You got to have some protein and some, because I'm immediately going to vegetables. But it's like,
Oh no, like okay, I like mangoes a lot. Like I could eat mangoes
right.
anytime. But like as far as like you're talking about a mix of like honestly, like I love Caesar salads. Which I mean, granted, the Caesar dressing is not the healthiest either. But just I don't know. Like I love like I could eat a Caesar salad for lunch like almost
with
every
you.
day.
I'm
I
with you.
Yeah, it's good.
I
It's good.
actually would agree. It's like, it's something I used to hate. I hated salads.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But you put a grilled piece of chicken,
Yeah.
cut it up and put it into some nice, good
I mean,
Caesar
talk about
salad.
a salad that's not healthy, but a Zaxby's salad is so good.
Well, which one? Depends
Yeah,
on which
some of
one.
them are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
some
I
of them are
usually
pretty
just go
good.
with the Cobb, but still, I mean, it's
And the Cobb's not bad
It's
if you don't
not-
eat the toast.
that's true. It's not
not
bad,
bad.
but it's still got it's got bacon in it, which I mean, it's not a lot, but I mean, with the ham, the turkey, or not turkey, chicken, I guess.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But
If you get it grilled and not fried.
yeah,
Yeah.
you could.
Yeah.
you could.
I was gonna say, and also, if you end up not having
So-
to, even the bacon. I mean, bacon's not terrible.
Not
No.
terrible. I mean,
Red meat in general is not,
it's not
as
no.
bad as they pretend it to be.
It depends on how much you're eating. Like
Right.
if you're eating like a pack of bacon, every week, then you might have a problem, and that's mostly
know
going
what
to be
you're talking about.
probably
I mean,
sodium
look
and
at,
cholesterol.
Burgess
so
Meredith ate a pound of bacon every day.
yeah,
There you
Yeah.
go.
He lived to be pretty old.
he smokes cigars too. So
Cigars, yeah.
that's what did it. Is the cigars keep you
Kept
they keep
him
you
alive.
living.
The bacon was killing him, but the cigars were
They
rejuvenating
count-
him like
they
Godzilla.
counteracted.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
just like
right.
completely regenerative.
But no,
he would
I mean,
actually die, and then
he was like Godzilla.
the
Yeah.
cigar smoke was still in his mouth, and it just
It
brought
was
him boom,
Boom, he's back.
pop back up.
Sean,
I'm
what
trying to
about
think
you?
of an actual healthy food that is a vice. For me, it's fruit.
Say, I know you like
'cause
apples.
I like apples. I like
Not your
apples at
favorite?
the lake.
Okay.
I like apples at the
Okay.
lake. It's really the only time I really eat them.
Okay.
But like other kinds of fruit, like oranges, pomegranate, the really really sweet stuff,
Yeah.
and citrusy kind of stuff I
Yeah,
like. But it's
yeah.
like, dude, when I get into the habit of eating fruit, I eat way too much of it. Like it becomes
gives you the belly.
it becomes a
poos.
vice.
Oh,
Like I
dude.
can't stop eating it. Like,
Actually, in the summertime,
grapes, dude.
watermelon.
I could eat a whole bag of
Oh,
grapes
yeah.
in one sitting.
Grapes-
Like,
Grapes
it's
are
terrible.
good. But
Grapes-
watermelon in the summertime, man, I
Oh,
could
yes.
eat like a whole
Yeah.
I like
watermelon.
watermelon.
Yeah.
Watermelon's not a go-to of mine, but I do. Yeah, when it's like middle of July, I love some watermelon.
And if you eat too much watermelon, you have the bubble gut.
Yep.
No,
Yeah.
I definitely have had that problem where like I'll make like a whole plate
Too
of
much
like
water in your system.
I have made a whole plate of like assorted fruit. I have like some grapes, apples, and whatever other random. Sometimes
It's
I
like
do
freaking
like
Denethor.
cherries, and I'll just be like,
He's Denethor over here.
Popping the tomatoes open.
and I'm just like, it's like a charcuterie board, but it's just fruit, and I'm like, this is gonna be my lunch, and which is fine. It's not
just
bad
too
because
much
I
fruit,
do.
though.
It's like
It's a lot of sugar.
but
It's-
then like
yeah,
I
a lot
have,
of carbs
then I have
in that,
poop.
but it's
too, yeah.
still.
Then I got poop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that,
Just when you eat junk and then you get back to eating healthy in general, like every time because your body's not used to having the greens,
right.
So then like
it's a huge difference actually, and I can tell the opposite. It's like if I've eaten a string of healthy and I go back to junk, I can immediately tell a difference, and then you get fooled into thinking, oh, I just got to get over this hump, and then you still eat terribly, and I feel absolutely sluggish.
oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm sluggish, and the moment I start
just mean,
eating
like,
healthy again,
gassy as far as eating
energy
healthy.
changes.
When you start eating healthy again, I'm just talking about bowel movement wise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Energy wise, yes. Like, but I'm just talking about like if you've eaten nothing but junk and then you get back to eating greens, like
Yeah.
you feel it.
Well,
When you
because
go into the bathroom.
yeah. Well, because it's getting all that bad bacteria is being eaten.
Well,
Yeah.
that when your body's also not used to the excess fiber because
That's right.
you've been eating nothing but fat and sodium, and now it's like, oh, there's vitamins and fiber in here, so then you got poo.
But no, I wouldn't say. Is salad just a food? Because it's a mixture of foods. It's
Yeah,
like
it's,
lettuce.
I mean, it's still, yeah.
I mean,
it's a
See,
meal.
my problem
I don't
with
know that it's a
salad though is
specific
like
food.
I like salad, but I have to have dressing. I have to have a lot of dressing.
Well, I can do
and
like on the
see,
dressing.
I put so much ranch dressing on my salad.
then
I'm
it's not healthy.
canceling the
Yeah,
salad
but
out.
But see,
that's
I
not
actually
right.
like vinaigrettes and oils, so I
Same.
can
I
do
like
a
Italian,
salad.
but Italian's not that great
No,
for
it's
It's
you.
not, yeah.
It depends. You can do like oil and vinegar.
Yeah, I
and
like
that's not
vinaigrettes.
Let's say a
So
raspberry
what
vinaigrette.
my wife started
Ooh.
making she makes her own ranch dressing, and it's really good. But the way we make it though is it's super thin. So you can put a little bit on the salad and toss it around.
There you go.
And it
That
covers
works,
everything. And you
And
get
honestly,
that flavor, but you're not
that's
using very much.
The best way to, I think, do any kind of dressing. It's to have it to where it coats most of what's there.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
all the
If it's
flavors
too thick,
of,
though, it won't get on
And that's the other thing
everything.
too.
Yeah.
Is I mean, the one thing I don't like about
ground in dressing, like because some people do. I'm with you. I like it to just coat it because
Right.
I want the flavors of the other stuff in the salad
Yeah.
too.
But the other
Yeah.
thing too I don't like about a salad is when there's not enough ingredients. Like one thing that can be
Dude,
problematic
I put
of
everything
a
in the salad.
right. I was gonna say the
I
problem
put
with a
way too
Caesar
much.
salad is if to me I want something that's like it's lettuce, onion, tomato, cucumber.
Yeah, that's not Caesar salad.
Yeah, and I'm like
That's a chef salad.
Yeah,
but-
Caesar
Yes.
salad strictly like greens.
that's all it is. Kale,
It's mixed greens basically with Parmesan cheese, croutons, and traditionally anchovies.
Anchovies,
but
yeah.
if you
I don't like the anchovies.
because Caesar dressing is made with anchovy.
It's made with anchovy.
Like the-
I
the-
do like that.
Well, you might actually
there's
like
anchovies
anchovies
in
because
that.
literally that's what Caesar. That's
Yeah.
what anchovies taste like. Literally, the taste is very similar.
I
So you
tried
might
it.
actually like anchovies.
Amelia got one once that had the anchovies on it, like the
Yes.
fish on it.
I
and
love
I tried
the
it, and I thought I
anchovies.
was going to vomit.
It's so salty.
It
It's
was
so good.
terrible.
I love it. I love it.
But no, I will say like if I was gonna pick one ingredient out of there that was probably my favorite, I don't like it solo, but and you have I mean it's not really healthy if you eat a bunch, but I would say pickles. I could just go and grab like
yeah,
never had
the
a pickle on a
really
salad.
sodium.
Well, I was gonna say cucumbers,
yeah.
But when you actually, you pickle it
Yeah,
and
you
it's a
pickle.
pickle,
Yeah.
I'm like, I could go and get a jar of pickles and just go to
Yes.
town, but it's really salty. if
Yeah,
you eat a
say that's
bunch.
really the only I think downside to pickles are the sodium.
Yeah.
So I mean,
And so, but if you eat enough that, and I like carrots, I can get by on some
I
carrots.
like munching raw carrots.
Carrots and hummus. I can chow down on that.
Oh yeah, hummus is good.
Yeah.
I've got like these roasted tomato pita crackers before
Yeah.
because they're a lot
Yeah.
better for you than like regular, and that with some hummus is amazing.
The only problem with those is you eat
If you eat too many, then it's no longer healthy for you.
Ooh, another one that if you can
that's
find
why
a
they're
substitute
pita. Or what.
for even like pita though, it's like you can find a substitute for some like Tostitos.
Well, they make hummus
tortilla
crackers
chips.
too that are actually pretty good.
And I was gonna say I could chow down on some salsa.
oh yeah,
And salsa's
yeah.
healthy.
I do that with celery. I use celery and salsa.
Oh, I can't do that.
Oh, I love celery. You don't like celery?
I'm not.
I love
Now,
celery.
celery and peanut butter.
I can eat celery and carrots and like because celery has the indent, that you can scoop a little bit of salsa, and like the salsa's not bad, and celery is like a zero, like nothing. There ain't nothing to celery. So,
but I can't.
yeah.
I can't.
Or bell peppers. I'll do celery, and not necessarily bell peppers, but the little sweet peppers you can get at the grocery store.
Yes.
I slice them in half because then they make a scoop, and I'll do a little bit of salsa with those.
Actually, and that makes sense. It's like you're just adding to the salsa
because there's already peppers in there.
Right.
So yeah, actually, if you want to try that, I'd like doing that too. Those little sweet peppers with some salsa.
I'll agree. Yeah, I like bell peppers.
Yeah.
Bell peppers are good.
I just wanted to point out real quick. One of our comments, is this is crazy, but it says, "Hey Cheatham, miss the old VSBC days." It's Michael West.
Oh wow!
I have not heard from Mike West in a long
Shout
time.
out, name drop.
I sent him a message back, but
it's like, good to see you, man.
That's awesome, man. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I don't know who that is.
Hope you are enjoying the show. Hope so.
Tune in every week.
Right
here on the Red Moon Podcast.
Yeah.
That was our talk about healthy food.
Yeah.
Try to get some healthy food on your plate this winter.
I need to get back into healthy eating.
I'm trying. I'm actually going to eat a salad right after this.
Good for you.
Chow down. I'm
not.
grill up a chicken breast.
I'm not planning on eating anything after this, but
I need to. I haven't eaten.
No, I need to go home and go to bed. It's 10:34.
It is. We need to wrap up. He had to get it in there. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Like we said, we're reviewing Sleepless in Seattle as a rom-com. I don't think we've decided on our main movie next week. I think we have one in mind, but I don't want to discuss it on here if we don't agree on it. But we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
But we definitely are doing Sleepless in Seattle as our Christmas rom-com. But yeah, get some healthy food on your plate for the season. Not all the
get you
cookies
some
and
celery.
Get some nuts. Get a nut
good.
bowl.
That's another
That's
one.
good.
That's another one that's good for you within reason.
Yep.
But if you down a jar of peanuts, you're gonna be hurting.
Especially salted.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
honey
you're adding
roasted.
sodium.
Yeah.
I don't like honey roasted peanuts.
Oh, they're so freaking good.
No, see, I don't like the sweet. I'd rather have something salty or spicy.
Oh yeah.
I do like spicy nuts. I like hot nuts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like
good.
salty. I'm just not like a huge sweets person. All of my bad eating habits are like
Salt.
like salty things, or fatty things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Right there at the bottom of your screen, you can see all of our social media accounts.
Yeah, you can.
Like, share, subscribe on Red Moon Book on Facebook, Red Moon Tweet on X, Red Moon Pics on Instagram, and of course, search for Red Moon Productions on both YouTube and Rumble. We're on both platforms. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And always, there is that old-fashioned way of reaching out to us. Keith knows.
They could email us
What?
at RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Just beautiful. Every time he says it. I just love it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
I don't remember it. I can't pronounce it again.
See? Dag Paftra.
I remember that one.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.